Hello, and welcome to B.T.F.O. Today we're going to talk about Scream and Scream 6? Yeah, Scream 6. Uh, the two newest entries in the Scream franchise. Um, these are movies that I've very much considered doing a full breakdown for. However, I was going to wait until the trilogy is done, but after um, some events this year and some comments made by some of the actors, it looks like this is just going to be a duology. Um, and so, I don't know, I may still end up breaking them down, but I figured I'd give you my brief thoughts on them. And, well, they suck. They're both really bad. Um, I'm kind of tired of pretending that they're not. I mean, I haven't been, but, I see a lot of sentiment around these movies of, oh, well, it's a satire. Therefore, it doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense. And it's like, can we stop? You don't know what that word means. Stop using it, please. Because, yeah, I suppose they are satirical in nature. That doesn't prevent them from being bad and not making any sense. But then, they're not parodies. Parodies are where you can get away with just not making sense because the whole point is that it's supposed to be a joke. Where the satire is not necessarily supposed to be a joke. And these movies definitely have a lot of moments where they want you to take them seriously. So I guess we'll start with Scream or Scream 5. And this is the one where for some reason they were like, oh, what could our new satirical take be? I know. What if we point out that Rian Johnson is actually a mastermind of cinema and that The Last Jedi is great and the people who don't like it are all murderous psychopaths. They just need to get over it, which is just it's so funny. Where it's like, man, yeah, fucking Disney Star Wars fans cannot fucking cope with the idea that maybe, just maybe, some of the things that you like are bad. Because, yeah, it's insane to me that is the reason why the killers are, trying to kill everyone, is because in universe, Rian Johnson made Stab 8, and it was way different than the other Stab movies, and so they were all pissed off about it, and they wanted to give the writers of the next Stab movie some real life inspiration so that they would have a good movie to make, which I think is funny because they, in trying to make The Last Jedi parallel, they state that it was the 8th Stab movie that Rian Johnson did, which means that there are 3 other Stab movies that were also not based on real events. So it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird. But yeah, it's really bad. There's a lot of weird shit, the bar, like the teenagers just go in. It's like, oh, okay. Like, sure, maybe laws are different in different places, but I'm pretty sure that if you have a bar, you're not, like, letting teenagers in there. But that's the way they wrote it. And they also wrote it that, one of the ghost's face, which couldn't even make sense because fucking... So it's, Huey and Mikey Madsen are the two Ghostface, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, Huey's not in the area, and Mikey Madsen is in the bar, but then Ghostface fucking the weirdo that was, like, trying to hit on one of the teenagers, that goes nowhere. Like, it's purely there because they were like, fuck, the audience might get bored. Let's create this character, let's make him an asshole, and, like, we'll just kill him off. Like, that way the audience won't get bored because they're not seeing people. That's really fucking lame. Like, then they kill off Dewey, and it's like, no, fuck you, you're not, like, because that's Chase Dewey and Dewey, like, then ends up tackling, like, Dewey, like, they try and then say later that, like, that was Mikey Madsen. I was like, the fuck it was? Like, don't get me wrong, Mikey Madsen's, like, a very pretty woman, but she's also, like, 5 foot nothing. So it's like, no, it clearly wasn't her. You can't do that. Like, I don't know. I did enjoy the fact that Mikey Madsen dies in this by getting lit on fire and then shot, much like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I do think it'd be kind of funny if she made that, like, a contractual agreement for all of her movies. I don't know. It would be really funny to watch, like, a rom-com where just, like, there's, like, no violence whatsoever in it. But then just right at the very end, she gets lit on fire and gets shot again. But, like, yeah, it's not a good movie. So then I saw the one that came out last year, Scream 6, and I was kind of curious on, like, where they were even planning to go, because I had heard that they had planned it out as a trilogy, and it's like, well, okay, so I don't know if the first part of your trilogy is going to be, yeah, fans are toxic and terrible, and Rian Johnson's a genius, then, like, where are you even trying to go after that? And apparently they decided that they'd go with, like, a legacy character angle about how legacy characters need to die to, like, lampoon the new characters, which, so they do both of these explanations. They have, I can't remember, it's either, like, Mindy or Mandy, but she gives her, like, thesis on what's going on both times, and both times it's really fucking inappropriate, but they don't acknowledge that. They don't acknowledge that, like, oh, yeah, no, these people, like, we're talking about people who were, like, actually, like, you're just going around, like, being like, oh, this person is the murderer, and, like, here's my theory on that. It's like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. Like, can you please stop? But, her examples of legacy characters who died so that their franchises could continue starts with Laurie Strode, which it's like, no, Laurie Strode is very much alive in the current continuity, and has been brought back over and over and over again because the Halloween franchise cannot get away from her. And then it's Nancy from Friday the 13th, which it's like, no, Friday the 13th did, like, just fine without Nancy. It's Ellen Ripley, which it's like, no, Prometheus didn't happen because they killed off Ellen Ripley. Like, technically Ripley is alive in the Alien continuity. She's just, like, a weird clone on Earth with xenomorph powers. But, like, she is alive. And, and it's not like any of the other Alien movies without her have established all these new characters that we love to see. And then after that, I think it's Jigsaw, which is really funny because it's like, oh yeah, because the Saw franchise definitely hasn't tried to, like, retcon as much as they can to have Jigsaw still be there. And then after that is Tony Stark, which it's like, yeah, I guess at the time that they wrote the movie, that could have been a good example. It's not, especially now, where it's like, oh, right, guess who they're bringing back? Hey! But, and then, the Luke Skywalker, which is funny. At that time, at the time that this movie came out, like, because I don't think the Rey movie had, and so it was just, okay, so Luke died at the end of episode 8, then they made episode 9. Where of those characters? Like, some, like, non-canon Lego specials on Disney Plus that have, like, Rey and Finn in them. It's like, oh, cool. So, yeah, Luke Skywalker did not die, so those characters... It is funny because it's like, no, so this film did come out at the time that they brought Luke Skywalker back in The Mandalorian. Like, it's technically earlier in the timeline, but still, it's like, no, they clearly don't think that their franchise can exist outside of Luke Skywalker. So yeah, so it's like all those points are really dumb. And then, like, when they reveal who the killers are, they're like, oh yeah, it's Huey's family. And they're all upset because they're like, oh, you fucking murdered Huey, when all he wanted to do was, like, make a good movie because the stab movies were his only joy in life. And so then, like, they try and play around with this weird, like, oh, like, Sam is gonna be the next Ghostface, which it's like, oh, okay, but Sam actually does have, like, serious problems, like, and like, she did actually choose to murder Huey, because she could have just waited for the cops to come. But no, she actively chose to murder him. And, like, yeah, I don't know. It's so dumb. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. And, like, Mandy, she got in a situation where, like, if you look back at it, she was on a train, killer got stabbed, but then I guess the killer just, like, didn't want to actually kill her, so she's just fine at the end of the movie. Nobody remembers that she got stabbed on the train. Yeah, I guess that's the Scream franchise for now. And it probably won't continue, which I do find wildly ironic. Them talking about, like, oh yeah, our franchise is gonna continue forever, only for it to fall apart. Um, but yeah, I don't know. These movies suck, and possibly one day I'll go into like more explicit detail, um, with like references and stuff, in like a larger video on why they suck so bad. But um, like the acting's fine. I actually do like quite a few of the actors in this. But like as far as the writing goes and the direction, it's not great. But those are my brief thoughts on Scream 5 and 6. So I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.